This is Thoughtful, which is a series of conversations with interesting people. And it might be that you relate to things that they say, or it might be that you learn something from things they say. But the idea is that they should all encourage us to just think a bit. So today I've got the wonderful Yvonne from Telford, um, and her business has been going along for a good few years, but the last year I think it's fair to say it's absolutely rocketed. So I will get Yvonne to introduce herself, but I wanted to just talk. We've got business, motherhood, your body, all of the stuff, all of the stuff. So Yvonne, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
How do I even go about introducing myself? I don't even know. You know, when somebody said, "Tell me about you," and you don't know what to say anymore, but I'll try. I'm Yvonne Telford, and I'm a mum, I'm a wife, and I'm the owner of Telford,
Yes.
a brand that creates big, bold, beautiful clothes. And I think she had to do that. Steph, you had to do that, didn't you? But yeah, so that is me. I'm Nigerian. I came to England 1996, November 26th, and I'm married to John, and that's me.
That's you. And look at that warehouse. I was just admiring it because we spoke, it's probably like a couple of years ago now, and you didn't, at the time, were you doing it from your house?
Yes, I was doing it from the garage of my house, and
Yeah,
you kept on telling me, Yvonne, it's time for you to move. That was the last conversation we had
yeah,
where you were encouraging me, but I was so scared.
yeah,
But you were right in something. You told me if I go on to the next step,
yeah,
that things are going to blow up and they'll be amazing for me. But then I was scared.
yeah. It
So
is, it's
thank
really
you.
scary. No, but I think I've learnt that each time you take that next step, and I've always done it slightly later than I should have done it because you hold yourself back. It's no one's, you don't report into anyone, there's no one telling you to, when you should be doing something, but you hold yourself back because you're kind of like, oh, it feels a bit nerve wracking. Although I think as you go on, you do that less. But
Yeah.
and then as soon as you do it, you hire someone or you get some hours from someone or move into a space. It just allows you what you need to take that next bit.
Yes, it does. I can, you know, the last time I saw you was at Clemmy Telford's,
Yeah. A
like a
list. It was
dinner, like a,
the
yeah,
evening. Yeah.
yeah. And you said to me, I remember that conversation, and on the train, I was thinking about it, but I did not do it. But immediately I did it, things just changed because number one, I could see what I had
Mm,
and what I had to do to shift what I had because the garage was quite small
mm,
and I felt really limited. But immediately I took up, it's like taking up space, isn't it?
mm.
Um, yeah, and
And you're behaving like a bigger business almost. So or you're behaving like the business that you are
yeah,
when you do that next step.
yeah, it just changes the mindset
Yeah,
of the possibility of what can happen.
yeah, yeah. And obviously, it's easier to have more people involved when you're not in your space. But before, because I've been listening to quite a few podcasts and articles and stuff like all around you. I'm briefed on you. But you talk, one of the reasons why you start, so before we even get to starting the business, you talk about losing yourself. And basically, you had a big, serious job. So we're not
Yeah,
going all the way back to the beginning, but when from the UK, you had a big, serious job and you sort of gave yourself over for like 8 years as
yeah,
a mum. And
yeah.
that was and you gave everything. And it almost sounds as if that has given you more confidence now to go, but I did that, and so now I'm doing this.
Yeah, you know, as women, sometimes I think this happens with mothers most of the time, but I think it happens even when you are not a mom. Something sort of, you sort of lose yourself when something happens.
Mm,
But I think when you're a mom, you lose yourself when you become a mother. You start to question a lot of things.
mm,
Who am I? Because in the past for me, my career defined Yvonne. You know, the designer bags, I'll get on the train and go to work. And, you know, all those things was what I thought was important. And that was what defined me at that stage in my life. But when I became a mom, I could not carry the designer bags and push the pram.
Mm,
I couldn't, my body changed. I just couldn't do the things that defined me then. So
mm,
I went through a period of searching for myself. Who am I? Who is Yvonne? And, so many things, I knew so many things was wrong with how I was living. Plus, I was unhappy.
mm. You
Being a
talk
full
about being angry.
I was angry. I was
Yeah,
angry. I mean, my husband is coming back from work and I'm screaming. I was yelling. I was just an angry
so
woman,
familiar.
and I think, and it's hard to actually face that anger. But
Mm,
I did it gradually. Thankfully, my husband was quite supportive because he was providing without judgment. So I didn't feel like I was being judged by someone else providing for me, but I put myself at a big risk to be in somebody else's care. Do you understand?
yeah.
Even though we had that conversation before we got married, because we got married in our 30s. So we had to have some very serious conversation about finances, who is going to stay at home. So all these things were pre-planned. However, being a full-time mother is for some women. But I found out that during that period, it wasn't really for me,
Mm,
hence the anger.
mm.
But luckily for me, I discovered what I wanted from life by being given that opportunity to be at home with my kids, or I would have just continued with my life.
But yeah, so you could have ended up just staying. You were a risk analyst, right?
Yes.
So you could have done something in that field and just, if you'd not had that change, you could have just stayed in that forever and progressed, and you wouldn't
And
be doing
but
what you do.
I would have been unhappy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have sort of fulfilled my life's purpose, which is what I'm doing now, hence the happiness, hence is flourishing.
Mm,
So I think in life, some things happen to us, but if we take a step back and really embrace what is happening to us,
mm.
it unfolds and beautiful things come out of it.
I
In my
suppose I suppose you can at the time, because 8 years is a long time to have been doing that. I
Yeah,
suppose lots of people would be, when you're in it, be thinking, well, I'm just wasting time, I'm not going anywhere. It's like, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's necessary, and you would do it, you were still doing something because you were bringing up your babies, right? But it's that need for us to be achieving something really quickly. It's like you quite often see, and I didn't start when my baby, I mean, they were 2 and 4 when I started, but then it was just me in my spare room, and it wasn't as intense as it is now. But I had, time. I had a year off with both for my first two with maternity leave and all that stuff. So I had time to be at home. But I see loads of people now on Instagram and stuff who are packing boxes with, baby in one hand, and starting something. And that must be so intense.
it must be. I'll tell you something. When people ask me, Yvonne, how did you do it? I always say to if my children, because to be honest with you, I started I didn't have a business until I did not even have a business until when my first child was, I think, 7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So both of them had to be in nursery and I was blogging. And even the blogging was hard work. So there is no way I could have been able to run a business
Mm.
if they were babies, because how do you do it?
Yeah. Especially not
Something
when
must
you're,
fail.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, You
It-
couldn't you couldn't be doing it as well as you're doing it now as well. It's almost like you had to bide your time, because
yeah.
now you can give it everything, and your kids are involved and everything else. It's just completely different if you were doing it with them tiny.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think I would have been able to do it
Mm,
because with me, I have no family around where I can go and drop the kids. My husband has no family around that, we can say, can you help me while I fulfill these orders?
mm,
No, something would have failed. It's either I would have been not so good enough mother,
mm,
or the business would have been suffering. There
mm,
is no way that I would have been able to have that balance with little babies and running a business. That's why most companies give maternity leave for you to go away and sort out yourself, then come back.
mm.
So there's no way. It's just
to do
I
it
don't know
all.
how people do it. You
No, but I
can't.
think it's. I think there's a big. I can see loads of people doing it, and it just makes me. It makes me nervous, you know. And then people will say to me, "Well, you started when you had a baby," and I'm really clear to say, "No, I did not." And
Yeah.
actually, when I had my third baby, I already had the business, but we did slow down for that year. I
I
took it
remember.
back, and I had to. But also, by that point, I had other people running it. So for the day to day,
Yeah.
I had my brother's our warehouse, but he was running it, so I didn't have to be there. And I think that's like, I don't know, it's just quite scary because if you want people to look at you and go, well, this is, inspiring, and what Yvonne's doing is so fantastic. But also, you had complete clarity and stuff like you. I don't know, you just had grown up and matured enough to be able to know what women want as well, like the clothes that you make. Let's talk about the clothes that you make, which are just, hang on, sorry, John Lewis. Are we in John Lewis?
We
Like,
are in John Lewis. We are in John Lewis.
I love that.
That is an amazing thing. Over the years, over the years, a lot of companies had come to me and said, "Would you do something with us?" And it was always a no. Number one, because the business was not solid enough.
Hmm.
Business has to be solid in order for you to do big things. My business was not solid, and there's no way I can walk if I'm still crawling.
Mm.
So the answer was always, and it didn't feel right. The answer was always a no. I wasn't in a hurry. I wasn't in debt. I didn't have, the company doesn't owe anybody.
Yeah.
So the company lives on what it earns. So I was not desperate. I guess if you're not desperate, then you don't start walking when you're still crawling and get into trouble.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always a no. And when John Lewis came, first of all, when I got the email, I thought it was a joke,
Mm.
and I thought, me, small Kemi Telford, what do they really want? And we got talking, and I just knew it was the right partnership.
The
Um,
clothes still look like they're still your clothes. You haven't changed. It's completely you, which is what, because I think when you started it, you were like, oh, I'm going to do these night. I know there was a whole journey to get there, but
yeah,
like Nigerian influenced prints, which you would at the time like, well, I don't know how mainstream they're going to be, and now it's like, well, you're in John Lewis. I mean, it doesn't get much more mainstream, but you haven't altered or adapted for someone else.
no, no. I guess John Lewis. Something about John Lewis is when we had a conversation, they did not want me to change anything at all. They
Right.
wanted me to model the clothes. Actually, they asked me would I do it. I think for years they've been studying the brand and seeing what makes the brand stand out there, because there's so many other brands they could have asked,
Mm.
but there was something about the brand that they liked. And and when they came, they did not want to change anything at all. They gave me the creative power to go away and create something that my customers and their customers would love. And so I think some other companies, bigger companies, would have wanted to change it,
Mm.
but they just allowed me to just be me,
Mm. Which is brilliant.
which is
And also, and that will lead the brand to, so the way that to bide your time again, to kind of go, right, I'll know when I'm ready to do this. It sounds like you've made like there's real sensible decision there, and obviously it would have been I'm sure it was terrifying and really really bloody hard work when
yeah.
it came to launching and getting the actual product ready. I imagine it was exhausting, but like you say, you were as ready as you could be, whilst it's still a bit of a risk but not a total gamble.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, like, I knew financially I was ready,
Mm.
without asking John Lewis to give me 50% of the money ahead of time.
Mhm.
I knew, I mean, I'd done the calculation. If this flops or John Lewis canceled the order or something, what what happens next? What am I supposed to? So I actually calculated everything, that would I be able to survive as a brand?
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, I'll be able to do it,
Mm.
if they canceled the order, because nobody knew what was happening in the world. But number one, they reassured me that they would never do that to a small brand, and they will have a conversation before they do that. But for me to do what I did with them, I had to put my sensible hat on
Yeah.
and thought to myself, there's going to be a contract. They still have the upper hand, but I need to protect myself.
Mm.
You know, am I able to, number one, sell the items on my own if they cancel?
Yeah.
Financially, would I survive?
Yeah.
You know, so all those things, I had to think about it. And, you know, so far so good. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
They've supported me.
It looks really good. And from a finance point, you haven't taken investment, is that right? You are self-funded.
Not a penny.
Yeah.
Not one penny.
And you started it with £50.
I did.
So I think this is a massive lesson as well. In again, it's a caution, or sensible caution, where you've got, like, you started with the tote bags, right? And you
Yeah.
had 50 quid, and then it was like, right, and then you've just kept reinvesting, and that, I mean, we've done similar, and and I think there's been times when I've had other people saying to me, like, well, you should do crowdfunding, you should do this, why have you not? And you kind of almost question yourself, like, oh, am I doing this all wrong? Because there seems to be very few successful
Yeah.
businesses. You don't see, aren't we watching Dragon's Den or The Apprentice, and it's all about getting a chunk of money and then having a big team. Whereas we're kind of both doing this incremental thing. We go, right, now I've got enough to afford that person, and now I've got enough to go to that premises and stuff. But like when the pandemic hit, and I could see all these other businesses, ones who had these massive investments, and then, I mean, I think for both of us, we actually boomed in the pandemic, which
Yeah.
is a really weird position to be in.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that, you don't know that that's going to happen. And I think it was when the pandemic hit, because I'd been having a bit of a wobble, like, oh, I should have done this, and I should have got this investment, I should have my exit strategy, and actually it kind of made me go, no, because I know what we've got, what we can afford. I don't owe anyone. I'm not having to make any decisions based on some team of probably men saying this is what you should be doing. And that is so empowering. Whereas I don't think people know that necessarily about your story. You always hear about women who've taken big investment and their business is worth millions and all that. And it's like, but actually your business is worth more because it's
Yeah.
yours. There's
Yeah.
no one else.
No, nobody else. And do you know what it does? It means you can sleep at night.
Yeah.
It just means you are not stressed about where the next payment, you know, is to pay your staff is going to come from,
Mm.
and you're not answering to somebody calling the shot. I mean, the business, you know, turnover wise is in millions now. However, you know, it's gradually, you know, it's just a gradual process that has just come naturally. You know, I was listening to, what's the name of that woman that owns Spanx? You
Oh,
know, the
Sarah
Spanx,
Buckley?
exactly. She's never ever taken what's
Well,
the
is
name
she
before?
not?
Never.
Amazing.
And exactly. And look at what she is doing. Do
Mm.
you understand? So there are some businesses, there are some huge businesses out there that is still self-funding. You know, my father was a businessman. He never took out a loan. That means he wasn't answering to the bank manager. It was just you know, I don't know. There's a Nigerian saying that say, cut your coat according to your cloth.
My mum always says that. My mum says that all the time.
Does she?
Yes. Oh,
You
that's so
know,
good.
and that's what I've done. I've just cut my coat. I mean, when
Yes.
did I start taking salary? I started taking salary just last year.
Same. 2 years ago. So I think I started 2014.
Yeah.
I only started taking, so everyone else was getting paid, but me for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. My employer right now gets, you know, paid more than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand? Because that is what you have to sacrifice some things
Yeah.
in order for the business to be solid. You
Yeah.
know?
And it puts a pressure on your relationship, I think, because it feels really good now to be contributing
How do you
financially.
know?
Because for ages kind of going, oh, I don't know, I always earned money. When we got together, I earned more than Doug.
Yeah.
And then over the years, and then having the babies, and then not taking a salary, it's like, oh, it feels really good when it comes down.
Yeah.
Makes you feel more equal, because when you have that row about whose work is more important and who's going to have that meeting and who's going to look after the sick child or whatever, it's really difficult when one of you is earning and the other one isn't.
Exactly.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
be, but it is.
Exactly. I mean, right now, we're looking for a new house. And I know that, I'll be able to put a chunk of money, towards it compared to when I couldn't,
Yeah.
And I think for women, what I'm trying to teach my daughters right now, and they can actually see, things happening. I think it's like you've got, as a woman, you've got to be financially independent,
Mm.
so that, and I'm a Nigerian woman, and that was drummed into me because where I come from, immediately a marriage breaks down. Guess what? Is a woman that is thrown out of the house. You don't take your kids, you don't take anything. The way you came is how you leave. And sometimes I might even ask your parents to pay the dowry back because you are now a secondhand goods. They don't want you
Yeah.
anymore. Do you understand? So for
Yeah.
me, I think I have been so lucky and blessed that, and I think it comes to getting married at an older age because you've had so many experiences, is marrying a good man.
Mm.
Marrying a man that is not threatened by your success. Because right now, John has got an amazing job. He works with Amazon, is one of the top men there. However, my what I do earns far more than him,
Mm.
you know, and there is no jealousy, there is no competition. The competition, he helps with the business. Even with the John Lewis thing, he did majority of the things on the floor, packing the boxes and everything.
Yes.
So I think what I'm trying to say is, for me, I think getting married to the right person as well
Mm.
helps with your business. And I always say to my daughter, think about this. If you're ever going to get married, how would the person treat you when you guys are broken up? Not how much do I love him now. Think
Mm.
about it, because we always have inkling of what the person is like.
Mm.
And men know this. Men always go, they don't go with, they're not like women that go with their heart. Men know if they're going to marry you or not. They do.
Mm.
Because it's like a man going to a shop, he knows what shirt he's going to buy. He knows to go to buy the blue one and he will leave. But we, you
We
know,
work around.
we walk around and
Have
we
a pair
buy.
of shoes. Yeah.
Exactly. Same thing when it comes to marriage. Men always know what they want in a wife. They do.
Mm.
So for me, I always say to my daughters, always think about how the person would treat you if the marriage breaks down. Is he kind?
Yeah.
Look at kindness
Oh,
before love.
kindness,
Kindness.
kindness. It's you, I always talk about when Doug bought me some oranges when we first got together because I'd mentioned I had a cold, and he turned up at a date with a bag of oranges, and I was like,
Oh,
what? But I thought, oh, that because I was just questioned someone just being nice, so I was like, what a loser, and then told a friend, and she was like, that's really kind, and then I was
that
like,
is
oh,
kindness.
yeah, he's kind, and that's something that is different when you're got the business and children, and that's something that you lose, I think, or you can lose, and you have to really work to, because it only takes, if both of you kind of lose that kindness, you just need one of you to go, here, I've made you a cup of tea, and that, like, that niceness, that if one of you doesn't do it, then you can easily just slip and slide. It's hard, I think,
It
but having
is.
that support for your business is massive.
Oh, it is. But do you know something about kindness?
Mm.
It's either, yes, as a couple, you have to keep working at the relationship. But one thing you need to know is that kindness is not something that you can actually grow.
Mm.
Do you understand? That person has got it. So dog has got it.
Mm.
Yes, when you're in a relationship, yes, we take advantage. We do things that we wouldn't do to other people, to the person we love the most. However, that kindness is part of who he is.
Yeah.
You can never buy kindness or work at kindness. You can work at niceness,
Yeah.
but you can never, it's part of him. For someone to say, oh, my girlfriend's got a cold, and now a man to go to the shop and buy oranges and bring oranges. Who does that?
I know, I know. I do remind him of that a lot. But no, and I was thinking of one of the other times we met was at the Warrior Woman, where we basically had to get into our underwear.
That is us. Yeah, that was the first time I met you.
Yeah, and but one of the things you said, because you have a tendency to come out with some gems. Usually it's some sort of Nigerian saying, which I love. But we were took because we all arrived there. So it was Natalie Lee, Stormy
Yeah.
Sunday, and everyone had to get into their underwear, and there was a photographer, a makeup artist, and all that, and a load of women. But what was just really initially, it was nerve wracking, right? You're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to take off my clothes.
But you looked amazing. I think you were pregnant
I was
there, weren't
pregnant. I was
you?
about
But
18.
you looked amazing.
But
So
everybody did. What was so ridiculous is all the things, and this is why I think it's important because it relates to your brand, in that all the things that women look at themselves and feel like, oh, I don't like I don't know, my upper arms or my right bum
on
cheek
my nose.
lower or my neck, like all those little things. And then you get a load of women in their underwear, and no one is looking at the other woman and going, oh, I don't like her, knees. You just don't. Because you're just like, oh, everyone looks amazing. Because
Yeah.
and you also like how different the bodies were. But you said it was about your sister, and your sister, you said, I think she died,
Yeah.
and you said, well, I always think about when she was being.
Beautiful she was, or who she was married to, or what she did for a living. Nobody commented. I mean, my sister was quite slim and tall. Nobody said anything about her and her body shape. And that was a moment for me where everything sort of changed, because I was standing far away from where she was being buried, and it was like an out of body experience where I was looking at, I don't know how to describe it, where I was looking at what was going on. And I was having this profound moment about how I want people to remember me, what my legacy will be. I don't want my legacy to be about my body or my face, or, I want it to be the impact I had on people. And hence, I made up my mind when I left, because the brand had started then, that I was going to change everything. I want to leave a legacy that people will remember. I don't want them to remember me for my face or for my bottom or for my hairy armpits or my. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes, it matters because everybody wants to look good. But what is more important is how you make people feel. How do you make people feel?
And it's a real leveler when you do get caught up in, oh God, I've got to get in a bikini, or I've got to get, just to remember that. I think it's because ultimately everyone's going to die. Like that's the one truth we know about life. But no one's going to care about those things.
They will not even talk about it.
No, it's literally, and that compared to the level of value that we give it every day in our heads or in
Yeah.
conversation or reading, it's No, I did that one stuck with me.
Yeah, I'm glad it did, because he had a profound, I think that is what changed my mindset. When somebody just, I think I think it changed my mindset because it just happened like that. And it was like, no, it was a tragic kind of death,
Yeah.
And it just changed. I think it just changes your mindset about life, what matters, your legacy, so many things. It's just changed it. That experience actually changed me. And I think it was later, it just happened. I'd just come back, and that was when I met you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hope I can see you in real life at some point soon.
I hope so
We need a
too.
good warehouse chat. You were saying you've possibly outgrown your space already.
Do you know something? I really, really need a good. I'm thinking of buying.
Are you? Is
So
there a next door you can knock through to?
no, no. I haven't told the landlady, can I buy it and sort of evict the people upstairs so I could take
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole building. But no,
That's
she doesn't want
amazing
to.
though. God,
Doesn't want,
I hope you have time to stop and go, shit, I've done it. I'm doing it. Because it's so exciting and it's just that I think this thing that I think is so lovely about it is it's really hard work. There's no denying that, but also just that steadiness, that focus, like absolute focus, and then
mm,
refocusing when you needed to, and then going right. That's my that's what I'm doing next.
But have you been able to sort of take a step back? I don't think so. Have you been able to take a step back and sort of
No, because then
think, I
something else
actually
goes
built
wrong, doesn't it? Or there's some other disaster or something. And then you lurch from one to the other. But no, every now and then. And I
do
think it's the
you?
people around you who, so a lot of my team are friends and family, like initially the core team of friends and family, and then we've hired other people, but they're quite good at going, wow, can you remember what this was like 2 years ago or whatever?
You see, that is what I need, because I've not really been able to sort of step back and look at it from the outside and say, wow, okay.
So you have to remember Yvonne, who had some tote bags to sell. And what was she? Because that's what it's when I walk into the warehouse, even every now and then, and I have a bit of an out of body, I go, bloody hell, because there's people and you're paying their salaries. Like those
Yeah,
are the things I think it's like the space and the salaries. And you, if you're like me, you didn't envisage any of that. It was just like,
yeah.
right, let's get going. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to see what happens and I'm going to slowly grow it and we'll see. But you didn't go, and then one day I'll have a warehouse and I'll be in John Lewis and I'll do, you know?
Yeah, but your warehouse is massive. It's like you've got stairs and you can look from the top
Yeah,
down, don't
it's
you?
good. It's good. Yeah, we moved in October last, 2019. Thank God we did, because had the pandemic and the level that we went to, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So there's a big part of me that's like there's a lot of luck and like fortuitous, because we just wouldn't have been able to do it in our old space. So it was, and when we moved, we still were kind of able to fit into the other space, but we were kind of looking ahead. But it would have been a disaster. We would have had to turn off orders or something because we literally couldn't have fit even the stock in. So,
But can I ask you a question?
mm,
Do you think with your business, you go with your gut instinct? It looks like you do.
yeah, I think so a lot. I do. Doug works in finance, so he's always the kind of sensible voice. So sometimes I'll be going, and he's like, "Well, hang on a minute." But also,
Calm down.
he reassures me. So if I'm like, I don't know if we should be doing that. Ultimately, can we, like you said, when you're making a decision about John Lewis, can we afford this? If we can afford it, then yeah, we'll do it. And because I trust him completely on that. So I think that helps. But there is a lot of go, I don't know what I'm doing. So, neither of us know what we're doing, do we?
Yeah, it's because of what you said. I asked because of what you said about how when you moved before the pandemic.
Mm.
Because if you had like me and you didn't follow your gut at that particular time and made it happen,
Mm.
then bigger things wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. So you need to get another warehouse, smart, because you're.
Don't say that. I put myself in a hole for you. That
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah.
no.
I know.
I'm going to buy. I'm really looking forward to buy because that'll be an investment for the company. So I'm looking to buy.
See there, look, how cool's that? Well, I'll just buy it.
Because it's easier compared
Yeah.
to me paying somebody for
Yeah, and you have to commit to 10 years or nine, it's,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm looking to buy now. And if I decide that I've had enough of it, which is going to be hard, then I can sell it as an, as
You're nowhere near done yet because you've still got loads of ideas that you can still do yourself. I think it's when you start to get to a point going, I need someone else now because I can't think beyond, I'm done. But you're not there yet.
no, I'm not.
Procrastination.
I talk this business. I talk about this business when I wake up, when I go to bed, when my kids wake up. Are you like that? You're
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
constantly talking about it. That is a love affair.
Yeah, it is. It's intense as well. I think it's intense. And sometimes you're with people who don't really ask about it, and it's like, I
Why aren't you
don't know what else
asking?
to say. Yeah, this is about all I've got, actually. Oh, it's so lovely to talk to you. Right, well, we'll get together away from here and have a cup
I
of
would love
tea.
to.
I would really like to.
You look so beautiful. How did you
Well,
manage?
it's the
No,
dress.
no, 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 no. You look absolutely stunning.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely stunning.
I'm so happy for you. I'm glowing with happiness for you.
Thank you. And do you know something, Steph? Thank you for your support.
Oh, good.
I think a lot of people don't know that you're part of why this business has grown.
Ah,
And I need you to understand that you're part, apart from the um, support, anytime you see me, the orders that you give to me,
yeah.
it was part of the big chunk that I could save, So a lot of people don't know,
Yeah,
but
so we stock a necklace that it's ones that you would have done. Well, we had no, it was specially designed, wasn't it? Because
yeah,
we
for
chose the
you.
wording.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still stock it.
Yeah, so thank you. Honestly, thank you.
Oh, I'm glad.
I shared a story on Instagram about how the skirt you wore, which you bought, I didn't even know you bought it until when you shared that photo, and that very day it sold out. And guess what? I shared it recently, and people are asking me, "Oh, when are you bringing him back?" And I'm saying, "No, that was how many years
It's a
ago?"
great skirt. Whenever I wear it, people are like, "Oh, where's that from?"
So you've done a lot for the business.
No,
You've done
thank
so
you.
much for the business that you may not be aware of, but I'm going to say thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for your
thank
support.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for talking to me. And yeah, I'm just really happy for you. It's good.
Thank
Good
you.
things happen to good people. That's why.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Take care. Lots of love.